Okay, greetings, ahlan wa sahlan and marhaba bikum. My name is David McDonald, and it is my great pleasure to welcome you to Listening to Gaza, a roundtable and fundraiser for sheltering Palestinian artists. This roundtable is the result of an ongoing collaboration between two organizations: the Society for Arab Music Research, SAMR, a section of the Society for Ethnomusicology, and the SEM Ceasefire Collective. Witnessing the events of October 7th and its aftermath, the SEM Ceasefire Collective gathered more than 400 signatures from ethnomusicologists around the world, demanding that SEM join dozens of other scholarly societies and academic organizations in calling for an immediate, peaceful resolution to the Gaza crisis. The petition insisted that our SEM leaders uphold freedom of speech for those standing up and speaking out on the genocide, and further pledged to provide solidarity and mutual aid to our colleagues if our institutions fail to stand up for academic freedom. Should anyone wish to read and perhaps sign this petition, I can post the link here in the chat for you to review. In the nearly 4 months since the Ceasefire Collective petition was submitted to the SEM board, it has become apparent that our SEM leadership has indeed failed to take a stand against genocide, failed to uphold freedom of speech for its members, and failed to follow through on its many commitments to decolonization, justice, diversity, equity, and inclusion. So, in the absence of SEM leadership on this issue, SAMR and the SEM Ceasefire Collective have organized a series of events designed to fulfill our moral and ethical responsibility as scholars, to listen lovingly, to speak truth, and to build coalitions that collectively move toward justice-oriented destinations. Last Friday, the first of these events was held. Teaching Palestine Through Music, Dance, and the Arts was a 90-minute webinar designed to empower educators with content strategies for incorporating Palestine into their college-level coursework. That webinar and its many resources are currently available for download on the SAMR website and this Google Drive folder, which I'm about to put in our chat space. Today's event is the second in that series. Listening to Gaza, a roundtable and fundraiser for sheltering Palestinian artists, offers an important opportunity for ethnomusicologists to collectively listen, learn, and take action. Each of our 3 invited panelists will share their experiences as Palestinian artists and activists. They will give their thoughts on the current Gaza genocide as it specifically impacts culture, heritage, and the arts. But most important, each panelist will speak on behalf of a local charitable organization or project working to provide shelter for musicians and music-oriented programming for Gazan children. Our final event is scheduled for March 5th at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Titled Times Were Different Then, this event will feature Palestinian storytelling by Sarah Abu Sarar with a moderated discussion by Hannah Salmon. This performance and discussion will center Palestinian lifeways and experiences through the act of storytelling and further raise donations for the United Nations Relief Works Agency, UNRWA. The following link provides registration and donation information. I'll put that in the chat as well. I will be serving as moderator for today's conversations. By way of introduction, I'm an ethnomusicologist who for the last 20 years has worked closely alongside Palestinian refugee communities in Israel, the West Bank, and in Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, and North America. This work has involved collectively documenting Palestinian efforts to mobilize sound, music, and movement in pursuit of self-determination. Our first speaker today will be Dr. Issa Boulos, an award-winning composer, lyricist, songwriter, performer, and researcher. Originally from Jerusalem, Issa holds a PhD in ethnomusicology from the University of Leiden. He composes instrumental and vocal music for orchestra, chamber, traditional, and mixed ensembles. Among his 18 commissions are pieces for the Chicago Symphony Orchestra, the Silk Road Ensemble, and scores for award-winning documentaries, plays, films, and musicals. He specializes in oud, buzuk, voice, and percussion, and has released dozens of albums and scholarly publications. His forthcoming book is titled The Palestinian Music-Making Experience in the West Bank, 1936 to 1971, Nationalism, Colonialism, Identity, and Folklorization. Our second panelist will be Ramzi Aburedwan. Born in Bethlehem and raised in the Amari refugee camp, Ramzi is a composer, arranger, educator, and performer of the viola and bozok. He is founder of the Ensemble Dal'ona and the Ramallah-based Kamandjâti Music Center, a music conservatory dedicated to bringing classical music to impoverished Palestinian children. A lifelong advocate for Palestinian music, several documentaries have been made of Ramzi's life, including 2005's It's Not a Gun and 2012 Just Play. His life and career have been further chronicled in two award-winning books, Sandy Tolan's Children of the Stone, The Power of Music in a Hard Land, published in 2015, and Neely Belkind's Music and Conflict, Palestine, Israel, and the Politics of Aesthetic Production, published in 2020. Our final speaker will be Mohammed Lomani, founder and lead guitarist in the Gaza-based pop rock alternative ensemble, Watar, or Watar Band. Mohammed Lomani is a Palestinian musician and IT specialist. Since 2009, he and his collaborator, Khamis Abu Sha'ban, have produced two studio albums, Gharibun Hunna from 2015 and Talatin Alf Shaglan in 2019. Mohammed also serves as the Gaza coordinator of the Kamandjâti Music Center and is director of Gaza Artists' Urgent Shelter Initiative. For over a decade, Watar Band has performed internationally, raising awareness on the Palestinian crisis and working for a just peace in Palestine. Before we proceed, I want to make a quick notes regarding how this webinar will be moderated. We encourage your participation in the webinar through the Q&A portal. This will be moderated by SCM Ceasefire Collective member Matt Sakakini. You're welcome to post questions under your name, or you can post questions anonymously. And we request that all attendees and participants maintain respect and civility for one another, and for those affected by the enduring conflict during this session. We will be monitoring the Q&A throughout the event on an as-needed basis so as to maintain our objectives of respect and civility. Please note that this webinar is being recorded and will be made available to the public. We realize that this may affect how you wish to post or participate, whether anonymously or not. For those interested in resources to help assess circumstances of free speech, academic freedom, we direct you to resources available on the Middle East Studies Association's Campus Climate Resources page. And I'll post that link in the chat for your review. Each of our panelists will be speaking in support of a charitable project that directly impacts musicians and children-oriented music therapy programming in Gaza. We will share links for each of these projects and encourage you to support them with donations. A fundamental goal of this event is to provide our North American colleagues with opportunities to directly support Palestinians in Gaza. That being said, I must remind everyone that there are many different individuals and organizations actively trying to support artists in Gaza, and today's event only represents a small portion of those efforts. Without any bias or preference, I would invite everyone here today to support as many of these projects as possible. So with that, I now turn to our first panelist, Dr. Issa Boulos. Issa, thank you for joining us today. I wonder if you could share a bit of your background and experience in Palestinian music and activism to get us started.
Well, it's, I've been in this field for like 40 years now. and over 4 years. And you know, it's my music and my experience is marked by being involved in what people do in terms of you know, what we do on the in the street. And I was an activist in the street as well, so these things also apply to me. The yeah, I've been writing music and lyrics and songs for that long. And actually, it's a pleasant surprise to see Mohammed here, because I wrote one song for their album back in 2019, and I wrote lyrics for another one, and I arranged a third one. So it was such a pleasant experience working with people and musicians from Gaza, and I always try to find time. I've been to Gaza only once. I was 14 years old, and that was a little window of opportunity when I was very young to access, and I want to say access Gaza, because it's like that. The Israelis have deliberately intended to keep the West Bank separate from Gaza. And but I kept my connections there. I have plenty of friends, and I worked with them on various projects, and the last one was also released, I think, in 2020. It's an album called Shurufat. It was between the West Bank and Gaza, where I worked with conservatory students ages 14 to 18, and I kind of coached them how to write lyrics and set them to music. And you can find I can add the link to the album in the chat. So for those who are interested, the I just want to start by saying that yes, there are various organizations that, like the Palestinian Children Relief Fund, these individuals who are trying to make a better life for themselves. I mean, the thing is that everyone needs to understand that currently it's a matter of life and death to a lot of people, to most people in Gaza. And for me as a composer and as an activist and as a um, researcher, I look at what would happen or what happens in the next few years if we do not restore some of those lives. I received a text from a friend of mine, Fadi Abdelhadi, his name, and he's known in Gaza. He has an extensive archive. And as some of you know, we also in our institution, NAWA, based in Ramallah, we also collect a lot of materials, and we collaborate with various other private collectors, including Fadi Abdelhadi. So he sent me a text and he said, Issa, I just lost 50% of my archive. And he showed me pictures of his home. It's totally destroyed. I received another text from him yesterday, and he said that they keep moving south. He's now living in a tent in Rafah, and he doesn't know what's next for him. I try to keep in touch with all the musicians and the individuals that I have known over the past 10 years in Gaza. I did not hear much from most of them. And the ones that I heard from, they were displaced. I mean, everyone is displaced. And some of them have managed to leave Gaza, and those are considered the lucky ones. I must say also that I don't feel that I'm doing enough. It's just I kind of feel helpless. I'm not an organization to start with. I'm just an individual. So I try to reach out to individuals and reach out to organizations and try to do a few things. So hopefully we can advance this cause, even if it's a tad beyond where it is right now, but the situation for musicians and for ethnomusicologists and for poets and for everyone, it's just unprecedented. I don't know what to expect in a matter of 10 years. Would I find any of the old sea songs? I was planning to embark on a mission to collect sea songs from Gaza and just talk about them and try to preserve some of them. I don't know what's going to happen now. I don't know if the any music will survive after this destroyed habitat. How is music going to look like? We don't know. A lot of people don't realize that we haven't had that kind of experience since 1948, and it sounds very similar in a lot of ways, and it knocks at our doors in an alarming fashion. And thinking of the losses of 1948 to this day, I live in the 1920s and 1930s and 40s, trying to reconstruct our Palestinian musical memory from those old days. And when I find a file or a recording or a testimony or a photo or some piece of information about someone, a Palestinian musician who used to be active prior to 1948, we chase them, we try to find more information about them. And it's been decades that we've been involved in this kind of work. I don't know what's going to come next. What will happen to these musicians? What are their testimonies and narratives? Where are their photos? What can we learn from the music that they have made? Is their music going to be similar or different in the future? And all of the things that we try to build, all the hopes that we try to achieve, they are now shattered. And I honestly feel that I'm helpless. And despite all the things that we try to do, I don't know if we're making any difference if we don't have a larger impact, whether to help people better their lives or to advance a better, as David mentioned, advance a better policy with regards to the US, how it deals with the world.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. Your connections to the Nakba are certainly prescient, but it's even worth pointing out that the Nakba resulted in only about 15,000 Palestinian deaths. And we have well since doubled that just in the past week with no sign of the violence abating. And we often talk about the 750,000 to 900,000 displaced Palestinians in Al-Nakba. Right now, we have 2 million displaced just in Gaza. The fact that this is more than simply a reflection or a resonance of Al-Nakba, but a continuation of it, should cause all of us a great deal of concern. Are there specific charities that you support, Issa, that folks here in North America looking for the opportunity to help might draw from? Oftentimes, or what I hear mostly from colleagues is, I want to help, I just don't know where would be a good place for me to send my support. Do you have any suggestions on that?
Yeah, I have the first that comes to my mind is the Palestinian Children's Relief Fund. They do good work, and I believe after I look at the news today, they had a piece of news that 17,000 children have lost their parents. They don't have anyone in their family. So when I think about that, the first thing that comes to my mind is children. How can we help them? How can we try to avoid some of the lingering traumas that they will endure well into their adulthood? What will become of them? Are they going to be directors and composers and athletes and writers and poets and scholars and singers, or what? So that's my main my main focus. I think we have to really focus on the children. That's just my opinion, and I support this organization.
Thank you. That's very helpful. I think we all share those concerns. Violence is the result of oppression, and it's important that today's generation of children, this Jil al-Gaza, understands and has the opportunities to live a life free from that oppression and the violence that may come of it. With that, I now turn to our second panelist, Ramzi Aburedwan. Ramzi, thank you for joining us today. I wonder if you could share a bit of your lifelong efforts to support Palestinian children through music within your organization, the Kamandjâti Center for Music.
Thank you, David. Thank you for this panel and this invitation and this initiative to keep Palestinian music and people alive. I know that it is not very easy and very comfortable to be productive and artistic in such a timing. I tried to be able to express what I'm feeling through music or art, but it seemed to be very difficult doing this during the crimes happening right now. And I even did read some experience from the past about many different war, and checked how could be the artist in this type of war and crimes, and if they can be productive. Most of them will produce, some of them will produce some art, music during what's going on, but very little, and mainly after the shock, they will be a little bit able to transcribe all these emotions that filled with frustration and anger and sadness, and that's what actually led me to just start to move and to not only follow the news and be there with this frustration feeling, and connect with my friends, my colleague around the world, connect with the musicians and friends in Gaza, to try and to do something concrete, because at least the minimum that we can do in such a situation. Al-Kamandjâti have started to work in Palestine since now 20 years in different area, zone, and refugee camp, villages, and city, and the whole idea was to enrich the musical scene in Palestine, in addition to what other organizations were doing. But we wanted absolutely to target different area, different geography, different field of music in Palestine, and to be able to connect Palestine to the world and connect the world to Palestine through music. From one of our goals was to also to reinforce and to enrich and connect the Gaza Strip within the work we are doing, because we were working in the West Bank, including Jerusalem East, but we had this goal and this frustration that Gaza was completely disconnected. And with Mohammed starting more than 7 years ago, started to slowly to build together a scene in Gaza, in addition to the scene that exists within the initiatives of Al-Qattan and Edward Said, who started really to enrich the scene in Gaza, and other organizations who exist before, the Red Crescent, who had an orchestra, and many individual initiatives. we wanted to complete this scene by other activity like improving the instrument making development and reparation in Gaza, and bringing the festival of Kamandjâti in Gaza, and giving more opportunity to the young emergent musicians in Gaza to participate and to play and to take part in a unique and different type of event. And that's why with Mohammed we did like a lot of work on trying to understand the landscape of Gaza, and especially the old sites and the archaeological sites, because the idea was to also to highlight these places through the music, and to connect the people to these places who are, from my point of view, wonderful places, and I hope some of them still possible to be repaired in after the war. The festival also was a way to connect the people and to connect us with the population through its diversity. We unfortunately never succeed in bringing musicians from abroad into Gaza, which really brought us to mainly work on the local production. The difficulty was in the beginning to this initiative. It's to convince the people and the authority and the responsible and the municipality that we can use these public spaces, and how important to really highlight them and even to archive their existence within people, within art, within full of festivity, and give to the people other view of their landscape, and give it even more, make it as much as beautiful as they would love to see. That's what we did, and I know that it was very challenging for the team in Gaza, led by Mohammed at the time, but we managed to do it. And we are very happy that we could connect through the music Gaza in several occasions, like mainly with the 2019 with the festivity of Jerusalem, capital of Islamic culture, but we did it even after. And actually, within the last year, we even went more specialized, and we went even to more protected archaeological place to even revive them, because what's going in Gaza today, these places are really completely disconnected, actually, from the people, and these places carry a lot of the history of Gaza and Palestine. And the idea it was just to bring this patrimonial to the world, to see how Gaza also is one of the richest patrimonial city in the world through the history, because of its placing in a junction that where everybody had to stop and to pass by there through the century. Musical production were mainly different type of music we work on. We don't have really a very clear musical idea. We build the idea through from the space. That's when we had the chance to an acceptance to do something in the Al-Omari Mosque. We built the program according to the place. We had a chance to do the Saint Hilarion, or what we call in Arabic Tall Ma'amir. We did it also according to the place. When we had the chance to do on the big place of in Khan Yunis of what's the name, Muhammad? The Sahat. Sorry, we don't hear you, Muhammad.
You're muted, Mohammed.
Yeah, you can hear me. Yeah, Barqouq.
Qalat Barqouq. This was a fort, a castle that was an amazing castle in Khan Yunis, and is very small place of it's still there. And we did we did it there, and the idea was to reproduce it every year, and we also didn't forget and would mention to the Bedouin culture of Gaza, and that's why we went also to the Bedouin area, and then we reproduce a show with the people of this area also. Yeah, that was the main work we did with Muhammad, in addition to support music education and training through training teachers, and that was one of the plans coming, and developing capacity of teaching music therapy through learning some of the musicians who already now been working to learn this capacity, because before the war we thinking there were a lot of work on trauma, and then imagine now with the war, and finally it's connection all of these resources together through giving this chance also to some musicians who can come abroad or to the West Bank to communicate with other musicians, because our main focus was really to breaking this isolation of Gaza. Nobody can imagine. I went to Gaza, and when you come into Erez, and then you walk for more than 2-3 kilometers with the fence from all around you, it's unimaginable that to see that we're going to another planet. Actually, that's how that's before 7th of October,
Right.
Yeah.
So I noticed that you've created a GoFundMe campaign. Does that GoFundMe campaign fund these types of programs in Gaza?
Actually, the GoFundMe campaign was like an initiative that started together with a committee in Ramallah between Kamandjâti, Edward Said, Delia Foundation, and from Jafra Production. And the idea that all these organizations met to see how we can support artists in Gaza. And it started by that most of the employees of this organization have done a private donation from them to support artists, because they were also another initiative by Al-Qattan to really support and send some support, some money just for artists because they were out of their house. And then when I talked with Muhammad and the committee there, I mean, we decided to develop and to at least create a shelter place, to rent a land, to buy the tents, and to give some shelters for some artists and their family during this difficult time, especially those who need, because some artists, they just told us that they are fine, they are in the shelters, but some of them, they were like in the street. And the idea was also to produce some activity with the musicians for children, as they are not going to school now, and they are completely in the trauma from on all stages. But the problem that most of the instruments are in the houses or are broken or are bombed. I mean, it's not easy, and it's difficult now to negotiate to get a instrument to Rafah, because they are almost getting medicine and food,
Right. I know. I recall that we have some pictures and videos of that exact project that we can show everybody. Why don't we, at this point, why don't we turn to Mohammed then, so he can give us more of an on-the-ground perspective. So
Yes.
with that, we turn now to our third panelist, Mohammed Lomani. And Mohammed, thank you for joining us today. Given that you're from Gaza and that you were able to escape the bombing and are currently in Egypt, I wonder if you could share with us a bit more about the current situation from your perspective, and then tell us a bit more about the work that you've been doing with Kamandjâti's Gaza branch on this initiative to provide even makeshift shelter for musicians who are now rendered homeless by the genocide.
Yes, as the war started, many of the musicians was displaced, and families as well as are displaced from their places, different time, until they arrive to the most secure place, as the IDF informed, Rafah. We, before the shelter idea, we were contacting with many musicians, and we made like a database for the information about them. So we started following up their news and knowing how is the situation they are living and what is the update of the crisis they have having. So make the first initiative to support musicians with some like pocket money to support them in different things of their life. And after that, we get a call from different musicians that they are in the street now and they don't have the ability to find a place, and they are living in danger with their families and with their children. So from this point, we start thinking to make this initiative to save what we can of musicians and their families. And we started making a GoFund initiative. After that, we collected some money and we started building the shelter. Now we finished from building the main tents inside the shelter, and we brought furniture like blankets, mattresses, and other things, and we building like a place to save water, for example, and bathrooms and every things that they have to need.
Why don't we, at this time, show a video so that everyone can see the work that you've been doing close up? Is there one link in particular you'd like me to open up?
Yes, there is link number 8.
Number 8. Hang on one second. Do you want the video or the still photos? Mohammed, maybe you could explain to us what we're seeing here?
Now the photos.
So these
Maybe
are
he
the
was saying,
shelters?
yeah, this is the tent actually. It was very difficult to find inside of Gaza, to find wood and tent to cover. But maybe Mohammed, you can tell more, or you may be saying show photos. It's maybe lighter.
Okay. I'll show the photos now.
Yeah, that's the process of building.
You're powering
battery
everything with battery power?
Power, yeah. And solar. That was during the beginning of the building of the shelter. And this, just to clarify that this is all this really was following by a committee in Ramallah that meets very regularly with Mohammed and the whole team in Gaza to put this all together with from Ramallah with Iyad, Muhammad Maraga, Majd Hajjaj from Dalia, and Jafra Production. Yes.
Excellent.
Muhammad, did you?
Are you still with us, Mohammed?
Yeah. Sorry, the connection is, I'm with you now. Was an internet disconnection.
Was there another link you'd like me to open?
Yeah, link number 9.
9.
It's the first activity we made.
1 second. Maybe you could talk us through these images, or would you rather us watch the video?
After we hosted the families, we start making the internal system between and to make some activities to feel they are familiar to each other and they are like a teamwork together. So we start making some Palestinians food, and the families there make it inside with the children also. And the artists.
Muhammad, how many musicians you have in the list that you still in Gaza? How many musicians?
In all of Gaza?
Yeah.
In all of Gaza, there is around 500 or more musicians, and they are working in different types. There is like a big number of musicians. They are working in the wedding parties, and because it is the main career of Gaza, of the musicians. Another musicians are students in different places like Edward Said conservatories. And the other musicians are like underground musicians. They are trying to make small bands and make music.
Excellent.
And are they still all in Gaza, or some of them are left?
Some of them left. Some of them displaced to the west, the south, and some of them are still in the north and in the middle of Gaza, even now. And some of them, unfortunately, they are died. Maybe we know around 5 musicians, and some of them shared with Kamandjâti festivals. And actually, we hear they are died in the war. And some of them also, we have a disconnection with them, and we don't know about any news about them.
That's terrible news, Mohammed. I appreciate you sharing this work with us. It's really powerful to see these images, because this is currently happening right now. This is work going on in this moment. This is not distilled by time or by the media. This is direct action taking place that we are witnessing. Is there one last link you'd like to share with everybody?
If I would like to share, I put some links for the activities we were making for a Kamandjâti festival in the last years. So maybe we can see the difference. It was the very beautiful shows before, where we worked with different level of the community, and we perform shows in different places in Gaza.
Are you talking
So-
about link number 1,
Yes.
the
link of
video?
number 1.
Yeah, we can.
It was,
That's in قلعة برقوق in Khan Yunis.
Is this the video you'd like to show?
yeah, it was the first time that someone make a concert beside this castle.
في هواك خير العباد شغفها القلب وهاما في هواك خير العباد شغفها القلب بسم الله ما شاء الله وما فيش حارس إلا الله ويا ناس يلعبوا ويا أصحابه سيدنا محمد يستنى بسم الله ما شاء الله ما فيش حارس إلا الله
Yeah,
Okay.
this is heartbreaking. So I hope this place still safe. This is the main place of Khan Yunis, actually, the city center of Khan Yunis. Muhammad.
Yes, of course. And this castle was built in 1387.
Excellent. I appreciate you sharing that with us. We are now coming up to about an hour mark since we began, and mindful of that time. I'd fully understand if you need to go. We hope that you enjoyed this roundtable and that you will support the organizations discussed. The links are all there in the chat for you to review. The recording of this event is going to be posted on the SAMRA webpage for future reference. But for those who can still hang around, I think now would be a great time to host a little Q&A moderated discussion with our panelists. So anyone wishing to participate can certainly do so by submitting questions using the comment function.
Can we show maybe two more videos with like 1 minute, and
Sure.
then we just go to the questions?
Yeah, no problem. Just which one would you like to show?
Maybe
I think it's
suggest,
good. Yeah, go ahead, Mohammed.
yeah, Ramzi. Maybe we can play the Saint Hilarion, the kids' activity.
Which one is
Yeah,
that?
that was very recent.
4.
4.
Yeah, this event actually was made in the last July, last year, before the war.
That's an incredible video.
Yeah. Can we show some of the concerts, Muhammad? It's the same link or?
I think number 5. Yeah. At night,
The
we
concert
turn
tonight.
it. Yeah, we turn the place. We put lighting on this the first time also, and we made a concert, musical concert. You can move to 30 seconds.
Move to 30 seconds.
Yes, you can start from 30 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah.
أرض المجد وأرض العزة بلدي الغالية الحلوة غزة. أرض المجد وأرض العزة بلدي الغالية الحلوة. بلدي غزة يا غزة يا بلدي غزة يا غزة بلدي غزة يا غزة بلدي غزة يا غزة. وتعالى وتتعمر يا دار محمي براجك وبشرعي الأحرار.
It's apparent the way that you are integrating music and the archaeological sites in Gaza, the way that you described, Ramzi.
Yes. Al-Umari, maybe last one, Al-Umari Mosque, and then finish, because
Sure.
this one I know that it was bombed, and I hope it will be possible to renovate it again.
Yeah, it's
Which link do you want me to
3.
show?
Number 3.
Number 3.
It's an old mosque, and unfortunately, it's destroyed now.
Let me show you how we do stuff around here. Actually, my department uses Monday.com, so I'm good. Work.
ألوذ به إلاك يا سندي مولاي إني ببابك مولاي إني ببابك مولاي. أقوم بالليل إني ببابك مولاي. أقوم بالليل والأسحار رسول الله. السلام عليك يا رسول الله. السلام عليك يا حبيبي يا نبي الله يا رسول الله.
David, thank you. Do we still have 2 minutes more or not for showing two things or not? We need
We
one,
have
one,
too much.
one.
Whatever you want to do, Ramzi, it's fine with me.
I think it's important to show also if we can do show a bit of Zawaidi event and the song from Edward Said, the last song, Muhammad, صح?
Yeah. For Zawaida, it is a Bedouin ceremony, which was filled of the traditional of Bedouin and their life and their special instrument also.
Which link would you like me to open?
Number 2.
Number 2.
This is
يا هلا وحيا الدبكة الأولاني خليني عبالك وعاد إنساني يا شايب يا الروب كيف القى ريبك هالمدقوقح لا تبع طير يقول غلا المحبوب لا رده بالسيف والبارود.
Wow, those are great. Those are great.
In music, you can travel to different culture.
Absolutely. We have a couple questions here, if you all are willing to entertain them. Okay, here's the first question. Ustaz Ramzi spoke of Gaza as a junction where all have passed and stopped over the centuries. How do the videos that you shared speak to that heritage?
I mean, how the video we showed, I mean, this is a very little of what we can tell about Gaza and about its historic and about its heritage. I mean, before the before the Nakba, before the Israeli occupation, Gaza didn't have this restriction, and it have been a lot of exchange with the world. Gaza, it's almost in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea. You know, I mean, it's a junction from the sea and from the land. All people who want to go from Egypt to the other side, from Syria to Egypt and to Arabia Saudite and to Jordan, everybody passed from Gaza, and Gaza had an amazing heritage. I would not maybe have enough time to tell about it in this small video, but you can read, you can go and find many information on the internet about the history of Gaza. I don't know if Mohammed wants to say something about the history of Gaza, but the problem, Gaza became isolated and completely, its heritage completely ignored because of this isolation. And you know, a heritage to be known, it needs to be highlighted and not closed on. You know, that's why we're doing today this facility to all these capitals in Europe and the world to come and to visit and enrich these places. But the opposite was happening to Palestinian, and specifically to Gaza. It's to kill its heritage also.
Yes, thank you for that. There's another question here, and it kind of relates to what Issa was talking about a minute ago. The question is this: it is honestly difficult to think of the importance of music in the midst of such suffering and devastation. Has music been present for any of you or for the Palestinian people as you've been going through this terrible time? How has music been present for you as you've been navigating this terrible trauma?
You know, music has, for me as a person, music has been always present. But I will say a few things about what that means exactly. I can give you an example that when during my tenure in Israeli interrogation rooms, where I stayed for several months, the only thing that kind of helped me survive, and you know, when you are isolated in a cell on your own for days and weeks and months, your sanity becomes shaky. And the only thing that kind of kept me together was singing. I kept singing from beginning to end. And I would just go through a list of songs, and I will carve some of the titles of those songs. And I still remember which songs were those. But also with this experience, enduring Israeli abuse and torture, and also beyond the prison years, the censorship and you know, their ability or their desire to silence any effort to inform some sort of change. I mean, the thing is, there is a predicament here. To start with, what we're going through right now is unprecedented. I never lived a situation like this ever in my life, and I've seen a thing or two. But I always believed and felt that although music is the most important thing to me, and I express myself through it, through my songs or instrumental pieces, especially through my songs, because they really spell it out. They put your lyrics and your thoughts right there, out there. I never also felt that music alone can kind of provoke change or inform some sort of mechanism for change to take place. I was never able to convince anyone that that only music is what we need. I come from that background of resistance, so I never had a problem really throwing stones at the Israelis. I never had a problem looking at the notion of resistance in different ways. So resistance, this is one of the things that I do, but I do not mind other forms of resistance because I believe that resistance is a right. You have the right to resist, and I refuse to be a person who is confined to music as the only resistance mechanism opposing or confronting such an enemy. I mean, I think some of you understand where I'm getting at. And yeah, so I hope this answers your question.
It's a very poignant response. Thank you, Issa. It's very important that especially North Americans like myself hear these perspectives and understand the ways in which resistance is conceptualized. Because here in the States, it's often reframed as something very different. And your experiences are certainly important for reframing that conversation. There's a second half of this question, however, asking about silence as a follow-up. One of our participants today says that they once met a Gazan oud player in the late 1990s who said that they stopped playing during the first Intifada. Is silence also present as a coping mechanism for Palestinians today? That's the question.
I feel that it is for some, because I mean, currently, I mean, I threw probably like 10 songs and they are on the back burner. And I am talking to singers and talking to musicians. Some of them have been recorded, some of them are in the process. I released a couple in the last few months and I released them on YouTube. And my experience is that when I approach some of the singers, especially the singers that I'm speaking with, they say that they're not in the mood for singing, so they are using silence, and I get it, you know, because it's not only because silence is a solution. Of course, you know, these things differ from one person to another. Some people express themselves through saying nothing, and that's a matter of perspective. Other people, they keep talking, and sometimes they talk a little more than they're supposed to. But so you will find both, and I have witnessed both. And actually, even in my own life, I have witnessed silence, and I have witnessed chattering, you know, talking too much. But ultimately, there are also other dynamics that come from society. Society at large still deals with music as some sort of an entertainment apparatus where the terms acceptable or unacceptable apply. So in some situations, if you are to celebrate or have a wedding, for example, and you want to have some music, you're going to find some people in the community who would tell you, oh, it's inappropriate now to have music and to do any of this because we are sad and we are mourning. But when you take a closer look, other societies or other communities or other nations may actually have a different perspective on their responses. In some places, this doesn't even become a matter of right or wrong. It's just something that people do. They express themselves through music, whether it's a sad day or a happy day. In our case, I can talk about this for hours, but it's probably I may need to address this in an article or something. But yes, there is also some social and community legacies and remnants of the past that still linger, and they make often the whole notion of practicing music shameful in a situation like this. And that's what I'm trying to say.
It's a very complicated trauma response that you're describing that would certainly be worth exploring in greater depth in your own personal research, but also in research with others.
Yep.
Yeah, but if you allow me, I think this will depend also of the text of this music, because you would have the music, the same rhythm with the same maqam, with the same instrument, would not fit, but using the same rhythm, maqam, and instrument would fit. It depends what words you're using. If it's words that talking to the reality of today, then this would fit, and everybody would just admit and will even sing it with you, and even dance on it with you. That's what's happening in the many demonstrations around different capitals in the world. But if it's about a subject that doesn't have to see anything with what's going with you today, then in this case, I agree with Issa. That's why from 67 and 48, the PLO only work on revolutionary songs for this period, because this was the only things that the people, or the imagine that the people can hear, or the majority of the people. I'm not talking about small individual people, but the majority of the scene.
Wow, thank you for that. There's a question here which I think Mohammed might be able to answer for us. The question is this: Mohammed, could you say a bit more about the difficulty and process of getting building materials and musical instruments into Gaza? I think you're still muted, Habibi. There you go.
Hello?
We've got you now.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, actually, we always was facing difficulties in a music instrument in Gaza. So I remember when I started my musical journey in 90, it was very difficult to find a music instrument in Gaza, or to find someone to teach you, for example, or to get started from this. I imagine sometimes also when I started playing guitar, I found a broken guitar and I repaired it. After that was a big journey to find the strings for it, for example. And also we have some difficulties also about the musical instruments for the people and everyone. Even in the war now, most of the artists were lost their musical instruments. Most of them are destroyed, and most of their studios and depends also if they are personal studios or business studios, all of these are destroyed now. We worked before with the Music Fund to provide musical instruments to Gaza, and they provide many of instruments to Edward Said National Conservatory and Kamandjâti in West Bank, and the Qattan Foundation also. And And we learned also how to repair instruments. And so the culture of the instruments are raised in Gaza. But now we are facing the same problem. We don't have a musical instrument. Most of them are destroyed now. Even the Edward Said Conservatory and other places are totally destroyed with all the instruments. Actually, me also, I lost all my instruments in the war. So it's like a difficulties we are always facing in Gaza.
Thank you. Thank you for that. It's hard to believe the devastation that even going down to these very personal items like our musical instruments are now gone, and we have to rebuild that entire network and community. There's one last question, and this is an interesting one. So the question is this. Last night, I taught the song Wayne a Ramallah to an American music group. We sang and played and remembered Palestinian peoples. Are there other songs that you can recommend for North Americans to learn in order to remember and support Palestinian peoples?
Yeah, it's interesting questions. People like, yeah, there's a lot of Palestinian songs and traditional songs. Also, Ramzi wrote a lot of them. There was in the past, and they renew it. We have, so we can say many of them, and maybe Issa and Ramzi help me. Like we have Zarif al-Tool.
Well, there are a lot of songs. There are, I mean, it depends on where you look. I mean, if you're looking into anything that we frame as folkloric, then you're gonna find a lot of different kind of models, including Dal'una, because someone mentioned Dal'una. So from Dal'una to Zarif, even the other forms, the Shuruqi wal Mu'anna, you know, these are popular forms. But there are also one thing about Palestinian songs is that most people think that it's folkloric, but actually the urban music making and urban songs have been kind of marginalized. It's also something related to what Ramzi was saying, that the PLO and the revolutionary songs were dominating the scene for many years, and of course to this day you're gonna find that revolutionary songs or patriotic songs are more popular than ever. But if you take a closer look at some urban music making, you will find a lot. Now, again, it doesn't have to be iconic in the sense of when Ramallah to express, you know, collective sort of sentiment, but you're gonna find songs that are meaningful, and you're gonna find songs that are worthy of getting out there. I selected a large collection and I threw them in a book that was published 20 years ago and is still available. It's called Aghanina. It was part of a collaboration with Edward Said, and we selected, there was a whole committee selected 100 songs, and I transcribed them and I added some information, like the lyrics, some basic information about them, and the lyrics and the music are all included in the CD-ROM that accompanies the book. The name of the book is Aghanina, and if you are interested, you can text one of or send an email to one of the organizers, and I will make sure to send you the link. If not, I'll send you an electronic copy. I have one.
Oh, that's wonderful. Ramzi has put forward a couple of suggestions in the chat here. That was the one I was going to immediately jump to, is Yamma Mawil Hawa, which is to me like the pinnacle of Palestinian song. And then Ramzi also has Al Yadi. Anademi Falastini, yes, for sure. Habbat al-Nar, I'd like to put in there. Min Sijn Akka. Those are the ones that I find myself coming back to again and again. But that only reinforces Issa's earlier point of the bias that is put toward patriotic or revolutionary political songs in these times. So I take Issa's point to heart that we should be looking broader than politicized musics and trying to remember and think about Palestinians. Well, that's pretty much the time we have for today. So I want to, in a matter of closing, thank our panelists personally for sharing their perspectives, their ideas, and their experiences with us today. In addition, I want to thank the leadership of the Society of Arab Music Research and the SEM Ceasefire Collective for making this event possible. We look forward to seeing you back here again on March 5th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for our next event called Times Were Different Then, featuring a performance and moderated discussion with Palestinian storyteller Sarah Abu Sarar. Until then, I wish for everyone health and well-being and a just and equitable end to the genocide in Palestine. Palestine Hurrah. Thank you so much to all who participated today. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Shukran, David. Shukran, Issa. Shukran.